I should be streaming to
That
the
was
stream 1 thing.
the best pee of my life.
Oh dang, that sounds pretty
GG's.
good.
But yeah, everything is fine now. It was just a paranoid grandmother.
Yes. Thank you for putting that.
Alright, yeah, when am I gonna be going here?
I don't see your stream live yet. There it is. Okay.
Okay.
It's actually like a decent quality stream. How big can I make it?
That's sick 360p quality.
Oh man, shoutouts to 360p.
I'm afraid to stream higher because it might lag a tiny bit. And that makes certain tricks a bit harder if it's not at a good frame rate for me.
Understandable.
Bastion is a pretty great game. You should all play it. Everyone in the world. Okay, is the audio balance fine between me, the game, and
Hang on,
Mumble?
I haven't switched audio yet. Second.
Also, just letting you know, Lawyer Dog, because this is my first time ever seeing it, I'll be asking a lot of questions. I hope you don't mind.
That's great, actually. Sometimes I forget, like, what parts of my run are weird compared to normal play. Forget to talk about them.
We are getting a comment on the Mumble saying, give me some game sound.
Do you want more game sound? I can increase that.
Oh, also, another question. Fax is asking, is this going to be all idols or any percent?
It's going to be New Game Plus any percent. All idols will just like add some RNG to the run. It will barely change it. It's not worth doing, really. Because you kill pretty much everything in the game in one hit because of how he set it up. With the current routes, Bastion New Game has no RNG in the run, and New Game Plus has like a half second of RNG. So it's a pretty great game to speedrun because of that. Is the sound bounce better?
He's saying it's hard to tell how loud the game is from the menu. I'm guessing he wants you to just start playing just to fart around for a little.
Okay.
Okay, anyways, thank you guys for letting me stream that.
Oh, of course, anytime.
If I stop talking, I probably passed out.
The dead welcome him with
That is
open
totally
arms.
fine.
The calamity took everybody after all. Kid sees it plain, frozen
And
faces
someone
on
can
ground.
link my Twitch and Twitter if they want to. I am not capable at the moment.
You don't much care to see him.
Okay, a bit louder.
Like this.
Is that good?
These folks never saw the calamity coming, but someone did. Someone close.
Okay, chat is saying the audio balance is good now, it seems.
Yep, just count Railcoon down when you're ready to go.
Okay, I usually go by like SDA timing for determining how well my run is going, so that's like 20 seconds after I hit go, and so when I first get control.
Okay, that's fine.
So I'll just say go once it's time. Wait, I better make sure I'm on the right profile. Okay. So this is a New Game Plus 80% run of Bastion. New Game Plus is pretty standard. You get to keep everything you got in your previous playthroughs.
Here's a kid whose whole world
Time is going to come up in a second.
stranded on a rock in the sky. He gets
Go.
up, sets off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed to go in case of
You don't
trouble.
immediately start with the weapons you have, but you get them in the very first level. So there's a short time where I'm going to be using the
Finds his
hammer,
lifelong
Fang Repeater.
friend, just lying in the road. Well, it's a touching reunion. He sees what's left of the Ripper.
Okay, so with this game and like your run, tell us a little bit about some of the
It's a gas
RNG in this game. I ask everyone about this because I'm always curious to hear the runner's opinion on RNG in the game they're playing.
Okay, in this run, there's about a half second of RNG on one of the bosses, and I'll talk about it once that boss comes up. What I did right there was I skipped the Fang Repeater at first and started the spawning of some enemies, but they take a bit to spawn, so I can run back and pick up that weapon and not lose time. Killing this bartender spawns this shield drop earlier, because it like skips a tiny bit of dialogue. RNG is random number generator. It's basically just the luck in the run.
Windbags start turning up for last call.
So another question.
More
Or
squads
you want me to wait?
It's
So you
fine.
can keep
This
talking.
is just a little battle. Doesn't matter much.
Oh, alright. But my question to you is, with this run, is there any part or parts or anything that you're not looking forward to doing?
There are two stages that have really hard tricks
He gets a good
in
look at
the
things
first
on
part
his
of the
way
run.
down.
That if you miss them, you can
lands on top
lose
of
out
the
on a
breaker's
couple of
bow
minutes,
in an
but you have to miss them a lot for that to happen. So hopefully that won't happen.
Good news is the emergency defenses still work. Bad news
It's
is
in a Cinderbrick Fort, and
he finds the distillery right next
gosh,
to the
what
arsenal.
Hanging Gardens,
Tough
those
part
two
of town.
levels.
One sip of
I'm
the
getting a
spirits in that
couple
distillery,
of
and the
spirits
feeling
here, which are
in your
just
hand.
different equipment you can get. I get Were Whiskey, which lets me always do crit damage if I have below 33% health. And I get Black Rye, which lets me use a special skill more often. It lets me do it 2 more times. And I get Champagne, which is New Game Plus only, and gives me 25% more damage.
Some of them squirts birthing like crazy
And
in a couple
by any
of
chance, does that damage
holes. Very
stack?
large,
Like if
sends
you
the
use
kid
more
on
than
his
one?
way. The
There's
bastards
only
are
one that actually increases damage from that, but you also get weapon upgrades that can increase damage. I fell off there on purpose because the first time you fall, it takes longer to get back on the ground. And I can miss this jump, and I get another chance at it if I fall earlier. So that's not ideal, but this is still a pretty decent warp district.
Wolf district. Well, down he goes. Down toward the bastion.
Alright, so with this game, how easily do you
Now
think
the
you could
kid sees
recommend
something
this
stranger
game
still.
to people in a
His mind
speed
races.
running level?
It's
Did
actually
anybody
a
else
really
survive?
great game
Sure
to
enough,
casually
he
speedrun.
finds another.
The
He
route isn't
finds
very
me.
complex to just go through it. It's just
And just like that,
the better you get at the
Bastion
game, the
comes
more
alive.
complex the route will get. But it's just
Starts
like an
running
hour and a
again,
half run if
growing
you
stronger.
casually play it intending
Kid's
to
gotta
complete it
put its power
quickly.
to good use. Now the Bastion can
The
send
world
me
record
far.
for New Game Plus is
Wild and
47:57, I
Kid
believe.
wonders what
Yeah,
to
it
do.
is. And I currently
Kid don't
have that
know what's out
record.
there waiting for him.
So, were there any like strats or anything that you
Now he lands
found
at
out
the
on your own
intersection
that you
between
contributed?
bad and wrong.
A whole bunch of strats I've
That'll be a
either
cool
found
one
or
of these
found
twisted
with
streets.
people
But which one?
in the Bastion thread on SDA.
It's locked down tight in an alloy
I
cage.
am basically
And
the
now
only
there's a new
one that has
Almost
run
like
New
a
Game
showboat.
very seriously, but
He has the whole place
there's some
grown.
people on the SDA forum like Red Buddha and OBJ that have helped with New
He
Game
comes
Plus.
back, just like I knew he would. The core hums in his pack. The monument's calling for it. Kid does it again. Only fair he decides. what
Okay,
to do
that's
next.
pretty cool. So you can call yourself one of the pioneers of this game in a way?
Yeah.
Picked up traces of other cores while the kid was out. In better days, the melting
And I'm
pot
playing
will
this
see
on
you tighter than
PC,
skin on a
which
squirrel.
is better for a couple of reasons. One is just the load
Of all
screens
the
are
plans to
faster.
survive the calamity,
And actually,
there
load
had to be
screens are
some
consistent
advantages.
between
It throws
different
a switch.
PCs, which is kind of weird for a
Now what
PC
could
game.
possibly go wrong?
Like, even
Yeah,
with
you're
a
right.
solid state drive, you'll have the same
Quite a
load
bit,
times.
as it turns out. The cage starts lifting from the core ever so
And
slow.
you also have the option to use the mouse
keep
to move
you
around when you're using PC controls. Which is nice for accuracy, but also you just roll 30% farther in the same amount of time. I'm not sure if that's just intentional because you'll have more accuracy and be able to control the speed better, or if it's an accident,
Judging by the movement of the
but
cage,
it makes it so the mouse movement is the only really way to play this game super fast if you want the best times. Using WASD movement or a controller or something is like 2 or 3 minutes slower.
That's very interesting. But then again, I think with PC games, a mouse is usually the better idea,
scumbags don't
anyways.
take kindly to interlopers.
I used to use WASD for this game because it would then let you be able to control your weapons a bit better and more accurately, which is more of a problem with the new game because you actually have to try really hard to kill all the enemies as fast as you need to activate the next spawn. Right here, it doesn't matter most of the time how fast I kill these, but certain enemies will, when killed, spawn the next wave. Like that
Shipping a
last
free sample
big
shows
blue
up.
guy, it's the squirt. He spawns this falling of the stab weeds and the next trigger and stuff.
It ain't all bad. As a kid finds some spices from the motherland. Tax free. One thing's for sure, that cage is awful heavy.
So another question. Like, outside of using what's best for the run, do you have any, like, personal favorite weapons or items and stuff
My
like
personal
that?
favorite weapons are actually the best for the run.
To be sure.
I just coincidentally decided to use the best weapons when I just played the game casually. Because the pike allows you to pike vault, which is super helpful in some skips. Because when you roll and then pike vault, which is when you go up into the air, you keep the momentum from your roll and you can jump across gaps you're not really intended to go across.
7. You give or take. a few
There's one of
seconds.
those coming up that saves like half a second.
Finally, the core's within reach. And
So,
he's got
question
it.
from the chat.
He's
Someone
gonna
is
get the first
asking,
ball.
does any percent not include any of the dreams?
It does not. And the dreams are... I'm not entirely sure how fast you can make
still
them,
remember the look
but
on
there's
his face
a
after
lot
that
of
one.
waves to them. Like,
The old
it's a
world
set of
finished,
waves, but within
but the
there,
new
there's
world
different
just
enemy
getting
spawns that
started.
are on timers. So it'd be kind of a pain, and kind of an auto-scroller kind of thing.
Couples used to walk the sundown path. Kid ain't here for pleasure, though. Somebody gets to the core before the kid. Floor starts giving way under the lightest step. A single panic squirt.
The timing for rolling and then pike vaulting is a little bit weird. You can't just do them both at the same time. You have to do it like a fraction of a second after you roll for the pike vault. Oh, right there I just skipped over an island by rolling in midair. It's just a matter of being precise enough to get across and skip that.
We can do it again. Who else?
So, with that roll that you just did in midair,
They used to ship live munitions down the
what happens if you were to mess it up, if anything happens?
I end up falling, and when you fall off the level, it takes about 3 seconds to get back on the level, and you take a bit of damage.
Who else could have survived the calamity?
The mortar is the best weapon simply because it does the most damage.
So we didn't find the core that time, but that ain't about to stop us.
And also at the end of that last level, I just used the pike vault to jump over a gate I'm supposed to activate in a different way. But a lot of the early game gates just let you pikefall over them because you're not expected to have the pikefall at that point in the game. Hanging Gardens has the hardest pikefall in the game to hit. It's extremely precise.
These folks never saw the calamity coming.
If you miss it, you have to go through the level normally, which is like about a minute longer.
Oh, before you run, someone mentioned that you have a boss skip of some form at some point.
I'm not entirely sure which boss
What do you
that
say
would
to a man
be.
who seemed to
Well, they're saying that you damage boost through a gate.
But he says this. We have to.
I take it there's more than one boss you can do that to.
Yeah, I think Oh, in that last level, I just skipped a boss by jumping over a gate. If you get lucky crits, killing the boss can actually be like half a second faster, but that would be putting more RNG into the run for a chance at saving time, which would be kind of silly.
He's relieved to see a living face or two.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It
Kid
seems
and I
like a
introduced
gamble that no one
ourselves
really
and
wants to take.
both to him and to each other for the first time.
Something you could do for granny strats in a New Game Plus run would be to get like Hardy Punch and Lifeline, because Hardy Punch would give you an extra life, so if you die in a level, you would be able to just respawn.
We tracked down a couple more cores near the edge of the city.
But it takes time to select those spirits, like a couple of seconds for each one, so I avoid using as many as possible.
One way to Cinder Brick Fort. The hard way. Sure, the
So I lost a little bit of time because I fell on that last level once, but I still got the skip, which ends up saving a couple minutes over going through the level normally.
Windbags, young and old, keep fighting for the fort. At least the marshals.
And there's another similar skip in Cinderbrick Fort, where you have to make some precise pike faults and you skip large portions of the level.
So with all of these skips and stuff, do you have a favorite skip that you just enjoy doing or something?
Rothus Lagoon is my favorite level because it has some silly skips.
Security's plane gone haywire. Windbags gummed up the works.
Oh no. Alright, I didn't get trapped on that island. You can actually get trapped permanently on that island, and it's kind of bad news. Because you'll have to restart the level, because you just can't get off it if you run out of pike vaults.
So it's technically a soft lock if you don't have that?
Yeah, but you have to really try to soft lock this game. You're not going to accidentally soft lock it ever.
So speaking of soft locks, is there any ice cream in this game?
No, there is not, unfortunately.
That's a shame. What's your favorite flavor ice cream?
My favorite is just vanilla.
Folks used to make pilgrimage here, pay their respects to Pith, Bull. Well, the gods are long gone now.
And it may seem like I'm killing some of these bosses ridiculously fast, like the one coming up, but some of them are actually faster on New Game, because you are able to use the grenades skill on New Game, because you don't have the pike vault to use, which gives you a ridiculous amount of damage, especially when you use Were Whiskey, which is what gives you a 100% chance to crit if you have low health. So pretty much every boss is just one-cycled regardless of category. This level is mostly an auto-scroller, but there's some silly stuff you can do with it. And there's a couple of pike vaults in the one part where it's not an auto-scroller. Something kind of silly is that enemies will just ignore you here if you fall down and just don't get up.
Maybe Nellie knows the way to the core. Maybe she can slip right past.
And enemies will actually attack each other sometimes.
Or maybe not. The security skiff pulls up portside. Nellie's just another windbag to those guns. Just then, the windbags notice who she's sailing with.
New Game Plus saves about 3 or 4 minutes over New Game, mainly because of pike vaults. It makes a couple of battles a little bit faster, but it's mostly making the battles easier and letting you use pike vaults. But in exchange for making the battles easier, you get to have a ton of hard pike vault skips.
They try to knock her out.
And also you can use these guys to launch around. It's not really ever helpful, but you can just go to silly places with them.
Try as she might, though, she hits a snag. Kid's gotta help her get untangled.
And I have to pike vault over here to save like a couple seconds. And also pike vault it on the way back.
Then the kid hears an unusual sound, like 100.
Otherwise I have to just follow that path
A good spot for
a little bit over to the right and up. It's just a little time saver that you can do on New Game Plus.
Traffic things think they're king of the roost.
A lot of the time on New Game Plus, you don't actually need to have low health and wear whiskey, but this is one of the times where it'll actually save time to get wear whiskey, because there's a boss that you can only one-shot if you have wear whiskey on. And that's like a half a second faster, but you take the half a seconds where you can get them.
Security skiffs keep on coming, starboard side. Don't seem to care what they shoot, as long as they hit something.
And now, since I have under 33% health, I'm going to do critical damage for every hit. Which is incredibly helpful, but also kind of scary on New Game Plus, because if I die, I just have to redo the entire level. Normally, in Bastion, you have multiple lives, but I'm using an equipment of champagne, which takes away my extra life in exchange for extra damage.
She's just gotta make one last stop. With her last breath.
And this is just a silly little glitch you can do if you pike vault before landing there. You just start spinning in midair.
Kid shoes them off. No one will be back.
It doesn't save any time, but it's just a silly thing you can do.
About 6 times. Now, listen close.
And I
think it's
actually
really
died
important
there,
to-
which I'm not sure if is going to cause problems. Because I was in a
Why
cutscene
go
there.
to Prosper Bluff?
Oh, a bad thing has happened. My screen has turned black. I'm gonna go back to the Bastion to fix this. You could still make it through the level with it completely black, but there's some hard tricks in there, and that's
Kid
not
ain't
ideal.
finished here yet.
Oh, I actually have the core. This has never happened before, by the way. I did not know you could actually die
Surprised when
there.
I tell him there's only one core
It's not
left.
quite a soft lock,
Either.
but I do not want to do the level with it entirely black.
Hard to forget Prosper.
So a world record is not going to happen anymore,
Used to take an
but
enterprising
I should
man
still
or
get
fatal
a
fool
decent
to
time
venture
overall.
And that's why you go to Prosper Bluff. Meaning,
And a big danger in speedrunning this game is falling off the level, because as you can see, it takes time for the level to form in front of you. So you have a real risk at all times of just rolling off the level because it didn't form quickly enough for you. And it looks like I'm just falling here, but it actually puts me over here, which is what I want. Because I can then jump here and jump all the way over here. And I now skipped a key item to the story of the game, which is the hidebound journal. The character Zolf reads this journal and finds out all about the Bastion and how the calamity happened and stuff, and all the story stuff of the game.
Zolf never thought he'd
But
see
you
a
can just
fellow
skip
earth
that
again.
hidebound journal, and this actually makes it so at the end of the game, you only have one choice for the
Become fast
ending.
friends.
Even though in normal gameplay you could never actually skip that hidebound journal because it triggers a little bridge to
But there
form.
was more to be done. There was one last core to find.
Oh, I don't actually have to
We
use the
tracked
core that I
final
already did.
core beyond the city to the wilds.
So that cost like 40 seconds because I had to go back to the
The
Bastion
wild
before.
unknown. Place can eat a man alive. Place is so raw, even the
Bastion
Calamity
normally
can't
has
take it.
2 endings,
Not all
but
of it.
you only get the restoration ending if you skip the hidebound journal. I guess they, at one point, were going to have an optional item or
The
something,
welcoming committee scrambles
but
to
it's
attention.
completely key to the story, and the story
Expected
doesn't make
soon.
sense if you don't have it.
They shouldn't have let the guard down. Getting that core
Right
was
here,
gonna
I'm
be
going to skip a little section of the level by rolling through
He
these
digs
bushes
his
and
way out
clipping
clear,
through.
But the wilds won't let him go.
There's a
Then
specific
kid gets
point
the
you aim
feelings
for,
being
and then you
watched.
just always clip
Not by
through.
me, by a lunkhead. He's anxious to get back. After all, he's got the
You can
final
actually
core.
escape that little area
journey's
before
over,
you pick
right?
up the shard, but you actually
no.
cannot exit any
ain't.
level without picking up the
Not
shard
by a
or
long
core
shot.
or whatever you need from the level.
Kid knows something's up when we ain't there to give a
So
war
at some
weapon.
points, I'll actually be
Cecil
going
and I
back to
were just
collect
wrapping
items
up
that it seems like I
heated
could skip,
discussion.
but the game is actually too powerful to let me
Zolf
skip
barely
them.
mustered the words. The calamity failed, he says. But I
And
will
now
not.
Zolf is super mad about reading the hidebound journal,
Know that.
which
Zolf leaves us
he
here
doesn't even have.
alone. Zolf banged up the monument pretty bad. But there's a way to put it back together. The shards. The city brought the shards to the wilds. Now the kid's gonna bring them back.
A lot of the time when you're in the Bastion, it's
Zolf's
actually
little
really
episode,
important to
the
go
kid sets off
fast,
in
because if
search
you
of
go
shards.
fast enough and
First
the
stop,
narrator is still talking
Jaws
while you get to the map
You'll
screen,
get lost
he
in
actually
the
will
bog
not
and
talk
kid,
about the next
and I
level,
won't be able to
which
track
lets you
you
then
back.
select the next level immediately.
Well, I let him go. What else could I do? What could any of us do? But the shards.
So if you
can
do
make it
something
better.
silly like falling in the Bastion, it could
small
actually
doses
cost
of
more
course
than
medicine.
the 3 seconds from
Shame the only
falling,
place
because
to
you
fill
don't
that
get the little
prescription
dialogue
is
skip.
out here in the wilds. This place is intoxicating.
In Jocelyn Bog, I want to mostly stay
Don't know where
in
he's gone.
Were Whiskey,
This might be
mostly
nothing
because of
personal,
like 2 enemies that I can one-shot instead of 2-shot.
whoever he is.
But it's kind of risky to do, because you only have the 1 life
Somewhere I never want to go.
when you're using champagne. And also, something that's kind of RNG is the potion drops. It almost never affects the run, but
Arms.
if you're using Were Whiskey, you really don't want to get a potion that heals you.
No man. It's a lonesome ghost of a gas.
And since I killed these enemies so fast, I'll actually skip a little wave of enemies, and this guy will pop up sooner, so I can trigger the next level, the next little segment of this level.
Peckers, lunkheads, wallflowers, pincushions, pineapples, swamp.
And I'll be falling off on some of these level transitions, so I can start moving again faster on the next one.
The securities.
This is another case where if you kill enemies fast enough, the NPC thing you need to kill to spawn the next segment will come up faster.
The bartender. Proper story is supposed to start.
Sometimes in Bastion, when you kill an enemy, it just checks to see if there's any other enemies there, and if there's not, it assumes you killed them. But because of this, if you go super fast and kill them quickly, you can just skip a couple enemies.
Years of work undone in an instant. His friend. He's undone too.
This is another case where I fall off while the level is transitioning to a new place, and I can start moving again before you even see me on the next screen. And that saves a little bit of walking time.
lost my train of
And
thought
there
just
is
thinking
no
about
way
that.
to skip that whole segment and just grab this shard immediately. You have to go
The
to the
shard
trading.
ain't lost either. Not anymore. Now to find a
And
ticket
I
out of this
tried to
hole.
play it safe
Never
there,
ever
so that guy
alone
caught
awesome.
me in his little
They
trap,
say one whiff alone
which
is
loses a tiny bit of time. And this fight has a really long wait for the next enemy spawn, so I can just mess around and wait for it forever. He spawns right here.
Mother only knows what happened in the bog.
And that's a
Kid
much
that
harder
knows me
fight
speaking.
in New Game. But you can still manage to kill it and get the same amount of time there as the New Game Plus run if you really
A
optimize
shard
your
is like
fight.
a poor man's core, but beggars can't be choosers. That's it. A few more shards like that, and we'll be back in business. A single shard can breathe new life into this place.
It doesn't matter a
Shard's got
whole
enough
lot
juice to
which buildings you
spruce
choose
up
to
any
upgrade
of these places.
first, but some levels have longer narrator dialogue about them, so you want to take the faraway
Echo
buildings for
gators
that
used
because
to
you won't be
roam
able to
the
skip
wilds,
them,
and they nested at Rothus Lagoon.
or because it'll cost
Many
less
a
time
tale
if you don't
folks
skip
used to
them
skate
because
their children
there's
straight
less time
originated
he spends
here.
talking. This is my favorite level in the
used to
game
think that
because
Echo
of
gators were
a
extinct.
bunch of silly skips you can do.
They
The route has actually
turned out
changed a lot over
Queen
time,
Anne
but it's
got
always
hold
been
of the
super
shard.
silly.
Echo gators love
You
shiny
can launch
things.
off of Queen Anne there and get over to this island, which you shouldn't be on.
Queenie leaves the kid in the
I didn't get the
twisted
quickest
trap.
barricade here.
He
You can
holds
get
his
this
ground.
barricade to
He
fall
sees
slightly
Queen's
faster if
running
you
out of
kill
options. One
that
bad
enemy
step in
immediately
tall
upon
grass
landing.
is Queen Anne's lunch. The closer you get to an Echo Gator's lair, the
And you actually have to
thicker the
roll
tall
all
grass
the way
grows.
down there
Wanna know
to
how find
activate
an Echo
Queen
Gator
Anne
lair?
spawning.
You use a kid as bait. The shard sitting in plain view.
Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about the quietness.
Hey,
Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. He's got it, and he's home free. Rest in peace, Queen Anne.
Well, I've been watching,
That was for
and
the brushers.
sorry to
Kid's done
cut you
what
off,
needed
but
to be
you
done.
definitely alone, just with this run, have been
Queen Anne's
pushing me
reign
more and
was
more to
over.
buy this game.
it's really a fantastic game.
All that trouble
Especially the
was a shard.
soundtrack.
But
I
you know
bought the
what?
soundtrack like a
It was
month
worth
before
it.
it came out on PC because I was just so hype about it.
Ain't
So,
saying much,
my
but
question
that's the
is,
greatest
which version
forge
do you
in the
recommend?
city.
I would take it the PC.
I've never played the Xbox version, but I think it would be good. People really
Well,
like
I'll say
controllers,
London
but I'm just not a
became the
fan,
richest
so
city
I don't know.
2 words. Point Lemaine.
I
If
really
the
like
wilds
using
were gonna
WASD
it was gonna
with
happen
the mouse
again.
for weapons on this game, but that's slower for running.
Whole place
That
shudders
barricade
to
can be a little silly, but you can just roll
Grand
right past
Rail,
it,
Point Lemaine. Not only is it
which
still there,
skips.
it still
Well,
works.
it normally
The army's
forces
prisoners
you to
once
pick
had
up
the place on
a
lockdown.
weapon
Horses
there,
sold, shipping high.
which will take some
Cattle
time to
was
pick
spices,
up,
but he
and
gave the kid a
it will
living.
also make me not have the mortar
Just as long
anymore.
as he can stay
So
clear
it's
of
really
trouble
important
on
to
the
skip
tracks.
that. And the PC version also lets you use a controller and it's a higher definition and stuff. So it's probably the way to go. It's also available for browsers and
Grand
the
Rail's
iPad.
all grown over with things that
They've
the
put it
land
out
can't
on a
chew
lot
up
of
and spat out.
systems.
Things
Wait,
that
it's
take
out on the
back
iPad?
It
I've
is.
never heard of this.
It's out on the iPad and on Google Chrome. In their Google shop or something. They put it out on so many things.
That is so strange. I'm gonna have to look into that.
It seems like a
Kid
fine
don't let so
version
much as
for
one of those things
what it
slip by.
is. I don't know if any of those versions are faster actually. I assume they aren't, but it would be silly if the fastest version was playing it on the iPad.
I think a lot of people would be kind of mad if, like, an iOS port was the superior version, because I know there's a lot of Apple hate in general.
And right there I rolled a little bit past the screen it's harder on mouse control because you just have to try and get a good angle and then just press roll and hope you don't fall off.
50 years ago.
With a controller or WSD
Okay,
movements,
so maybe we didn't
you would be
get
able
the
to
sign
just
off.
walk
Grand
off
Rail.
the screen and be able to
The
control
rails
yourself
that shook the earth
better.
with bone down to those dens of theirs.
So you can
Well,
save
the
like a
rail
couple of
lasted
seconds
long
there
enough
if you
that
get
the
a
kid
really
took
good
the
angle
shard. That was
to
bad.
roll in.
It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath, while choking on swamp weed, while peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun.
And there's really nothing you can do to make this part faster, it's just a little auto-scroller segment. And also, the main character is called the Kid. His name is never explicitly mentioned or
He'll be
anything.
picking swamp weed out of those boots.
His name is not Bastion.
Turns out he's
Wow,
got
that
company
is
up the rails.
that's kind of disappointing because that's what I always thought it was.
The Bastion
Not just
is
another wallflower
the place you go back to
incursion.
after
At first he
every
thinks
level.
himself, this is for you, says the man. Then wham. When the kid comes to, the man's long gone. But something else is there. Well, what's a kid to do?
So out of curiosity, do you have like a
Sure.
name you personally
Took
give
the
the main
hit.
character?
And he took that note.
I've never really thought about it, I just call him Kid.
That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? It ain't too late to unlock the potential of this place. The memorial may be finished, but our part is far from over.
For those wondering, the streamer is Lawyer Dog. He's also the world record holder of this current run, which is New Game Plus.
Not everything blew up in the calamity. Why, Colford Cauldron here.
I'm also the
Yeah,
new
that's
game
time. The Cauldron
record holder,
was
but
over
that's
300
that
years
category is run a
ago.
lot
They say it
less
filled the
by
skies with
people that
ash,
aren't
the
me.
lakes with
New Game Plus actually
As for
has a
us,
bit of
we learned
competition.
an awful lot from Colford Cauldron.
So there are 3 categories, right?
Sure, we
There's
dusted off good
or is there
little
2?
secrets out here.
There's 2 real
We discovered
categories.
other things with
so
that
New
little
Game would be just like
taste of air so
a normal
hot it
game
sticks
without
in your
any
mouth.
extras.
All
I got
sorts of
confused
things
somehow.
crawling underfoot.
There is a low
Places
percent you could do,
inhospitable
but it would be
town.
pretty dumb because it's a
After
low
all,
percent
When we look down inside,
where you would just get the hammer, and
saw in there
I'm not sure if you would need the Fang Repeater to kill anything, but you would just use the hammer, which is kind of a weak weapon when you don't upgrade it at all. It would just make the fights take longer.
That thing woke up every last stink eye from here to Charleston Bog.
You could do an all idols run, but it really wouldn't change much, except make the game slightly more annoying to run because there'd be more RNG.
Tenants all gather up to bid the kid a
So yeah, you did mention that. How exactly does that come into play if for anyone that's going for
But
idols?
all the fires died out.
I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head how all the idols work, but there's some where they have like a chance to turn invulnerable for a little bit,
Like the inside of a chimney.
or they like drop grenades, which
Shark
may or
works
may
like a
not
charm.
do terrible things to you
Monuments heartbeat again.
based on how they fall and stuff.
Seems like
I don't think
God's
anyone has
recommended
ever
this
tried to
place
like
to
seriously
friends.
run an all idols. And yeah, the
Can't
times
rightly
on my
call
Twitch
Mount
page
Zion
are
a
up
mountain
to date.
anymore.
Legotrope
There's
just
no more
posted in the
mountains
chat
now.
what my times
There's
are.
no place left for the beasts of the wild to go. We only found that little lair because they found themselves a little shard. The creatures of the wild, they've been building a bastion of their own. Best thing we can do for those beasts right now.
You could make up a definition for a 100%, but it would be really awkward and would likely require a lot of grinding to get the fastest time because you would need money to upgrade things.
Not just ours.
And the fastest way to get money might actually be to just play through the game multiple times, which would be a really silly way to 100%. Because when you play it on New Game Plus, you'll actually get free money in the Bastion after certain
We'll all be
levels.
better off once the Bastion is complete.
This has no idols enabled.
The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though. Just the occasion to crack open the distillery's private reserve.
Idols can change
Imagine
casual
everything
play
you
a
need
huge
to
amount,
build a
but
city like
the speedrun
Sandython.
route really wouldn't
It
change
takes
much
hard
at
work
all.
and planning, and it also takes burst
And it wouldn't really be any harder, I don't think.
On the cheap.
Not much harder
Quarry
anyway.
ain't exactly up to safety standards no more. Windbags smaller than
It
the
might
naked
force you
eye
to
can see.
use more granny
As for
strats or
these
something.
rocks, not only are these rocks a source of life, we found that the oldest ones.
Some pipe vaults here make the level a lot faster.
Now why would the
Lets you
Uruk
skip
sell off such a
chunks of the level.
fascinating place? Might be the gods told them the quarry's banned.
And also you can just sort of
Those
inch
rocks,
past some
all polished with
barricades
years of sheen,
instead of
are
activating
larger
switches to take them down.
cores. Remember how I said rattletails ain't the worst thing in the quarry?
That right there is the only bit of RNG in this run, really. You can get a lucky crit there and kill that guy in 2 hits instead of 4. Or you could also get 3 if you crit on the second spear hit.
Then the kid hears a voice calling
The
him
levels
down.
are not randomly
Are you
generated.
alright? It says,
They are all
"We
crafted
talk for a spell. The Bastion
by the
is
developers.
under siege. Kid hears him.
You
but
pretty
he
much
ain't about to
never
be
get hit in many spots in this
If
run,
that's the way
though.
it is, he says.
Except for when
then I
trying
won't
skips,
stop
and
you.
going slower might
Because
actually
my
help for some
countrymen
skips for barricades.
The next part's hard
All
to talk
idols would
about,
just be a really silly
no matter
run.
how many times I try. Say what you will about Zolf, but he's a man of his word.
And it's also actually possible to soft lock the game here,
His
so I'm going to be a
countrymen
little
don't
bit
care for
careful and make sure I don't
pleasantries.
take too much damage.
They got inside the Bastion and shut the door. Kid's gotta go in through the back.
2 hits is fine.
Should've
I do
seen
not want
this
4
coming.
hits.
Felt it in my bones. Zolf showed him the way here, and here they came.
Because it turns out if you land in a very specific spot here and get killed instantly, the game will soft lock. And you'll just sit here and watch the Ura hitting things and teleporting in place and stuff. And you'll just never go anywhere. You have to restart the game.
The Ura. They left.
So that soft lock, that's like there's nothing you can do once it happens.
There's nothing you
We
can
find
do
each
except
other
Alt
as the dust
F4.
settles. Then I tell him why the Ura came.
But it's impossible to soft lock it like that
To get
unless
us
you're
back
doing really dumb
for the
things
calamity.
to the game.
It was Ceylandia's master plan to wipe the Ura out.
You need to be on New
Part of
Game
that
Plus
plan
and be using
backfired.
specific equipment and take an exact amount of
If only
damage and
Zolf
land in the
knew
perfect
the
spot.
story. The shards can put this disease in remission, but there's only
So
one
pretty much
cure.
it's like it's one of
We need
those
to
things in
finish
order
what
to
we
do it,
started.
just to do it, you have to really try.
Yeah,
The
or
arsenal's
get
complete,
incredibly
but the gates
unlucky.
need protection. The Uras
In a
will be
practice run,
used.
I
At least now
accidentally
we know
soft
the way.
locked it there a couple days ago.
Ouch, that must have stung. Like
I
I'm sure
lost
you were
5
pissed.
minutes,
One
and it was
last
going to
shot.
be, it was on
It's
par
all
for a
we need to
world
put this
record
mess
run.
behind us. And
Oh
Mother
man, that
wouldn't
really
mess it
sucks.
But my
That's
current
not
world
bad.
record can
Made by
really be
hand.
improved if I have like good execution throughout the whole run, because I have a couple of new strategies which save some time over it.
We never wanted to go to war again.
So with these strats that you speak of without saying it, how much time in the world record do you think you can shave off?
But it didn't
I
come
could-
from one of our people.
It
came
would
from
be
an Ura.
possible, I
But
think,
believe
for
me,
getting
scientists
sub
think
47. But that would be
Better
like
work for the Mansers.
perfect in every
Sharp as
way,
knives in the city's drawer.
like
With his help,
task
the
level
Mansers
of not
devised a way to seal
of
the Ura
being
tunnel
like
shut.
right at the edge where you can be
With a
without
flash,
falling
just
off
like
and
that,
stuff.
Every last Ura living in the Tassel terminals will be gone.
That sounds like it's going to be pretty
Defended like being
intense.
manipulated. He had plans of his own.
Once upon a time, I was also pretty hype
Sabotage
about getting
the
sub
Mansers
1
with
hour though,
scientific
so who
training.
knows?
Set it to blow up in their faces. But remember
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm sure you can more than likely pull it off. It just sounds like it needs a little bit of experimenting with how close you could be to the edge.
Yeah, it's a little bit inconsistent between levels where how long it takes for there to actually be ground after you see the graphic of the ground falling.
About 1,000 times. First things first, though.
So with those, is there any way to like save state this game or like quick save so you can test that?
There is a way to make testing a little bit easier with the score attack mode they added, so you can replay levels, but you can't like save state within a level or anything. But you can at least go back and redo levels.
Okay, so that's the closest we're getting to like quick save, quick load.
Yeah.
It's personal for him, and it's personal for me.
I've never tried that hourglass program with Bastion.
Still, they ain't used to having visitors around. They've got these conductors that are all what's keeping the place together.
And all of these barriers in this level you can just roll through if you get the specific angle to roll into them.
By now, everywhere from here to the
It's
terminals must
really
have
hard for
something.
some of them with keyboard movement, but with mouse movement they're reasonably possible if you know where to aim for.
Yes, our people caused the calamity, but here we are trying to fix it. As the hour grows desperate.
And I've actually gotten that thing where the screen turns black on the next level right here, because sometimes an enemy will follow me over here and kill me while I'm standing here and not able to move. Because normally, if you go through the level like you're supposed to, it'll turn you invulnerable there and you just slowly walk up to her.
You had to see
But if you skip
everything
through the
so far
barriers,
too
it
was
won't
true.
make you invulnerable and you can just keep rolling.
Once the kid gets that last
But it will
shot,
still
so
freeze you in
all be
place
over.
when you talk to Zia there.
Alright, so I have a
can't
curious
hear him at
question
all
for you.
anymore. He's too far away.
So if they, I don't know if they are, but if they're going to make a sequel and they
He'll be
could,
alright.
and they ask you for your input, what would you like
The calamity
changed
hit
or
the Tassel
added to the game?
terminals hardest of all.
Well, we're actually coming up on what I would say would be changed or added, in my opinion.
You know why
The
it's
best
so
thing about
back
Bastion
there.
is how
It's
you have
always
all
be
these
there all
amazing
along.
weapon options, and
Just
you have this
waiting.
roll
All his old
roll
friends
you can
and
do
family.
everywhere, and it's
You know
really
what's funny?
responsive.
Look around.
But in this last
There's not
level,
much
you're
left
forced to
do
use a
with
certain
Bastion.
weapon, and you
So why not tell
have
each other
hopscotch
stories
instead of
to pass the
roll,
time?
which is a jump.
When the kid brings back that
And it's
shard,
just not quite as
Bastion
responsive
will be
as the
complete.
roll.
Problem is, we'll all be gone.
So pretty much you would like that either tweaked
Oh,
or
we're not gonna
removed
die.
if they were to make a sequel
Yeah,
and
it's
ask
just
you?
the best part of Bastion, and then at the
All
end you
of
don't get
this
to have the best part.
Just
They take it away from you.
things will go back to the way they
So
used to be.
you,
This
so
whole
pretty much you
place
feel
is
robbed
a
at the
living
end.
record of the times before
I just
the
love these weapons so much, and
Be
then
your
I
old
can't
self
use them.
again. Think of all those times that didn't go your way. You follow me?
Coming up soon is a part where I can actually die from taking too much damage, and it's super scary. Because I want to one-shot this boss coming up, and I need to be on Were Whiskey for that,
Everything you've
and
ever
he actually
done.
does a ton of damage.
Could do it over. And wouldn't that be great?
I'm not entirely sure if one hit from him
There's nothing more to
will
say.
take me to the amount of health I need, but I want to play it safe, so I don't want to have too low of health.
Who am I kidding?
And there we go.
Look. There's something else.
If you time your
Looking
mortar
for
shot, you can get a power shot, which
How come I know
does
so much
extra
about
damage.
Bastion?
And I also waited for him to hit me first, so I would actually crit that hit, so I'm able to do like 900 damage or so to him and kill him in one hit.
You can't test it.
Oh wow, that
So
was
you're
definitely
probably
a nice
wondering,
shot. I lagged
Calamity
behind, so I
happened
got to
already.
see that in all of
what's
its
to stop it
glory.
from happening again? After
And
the
I have
Bastion
died
is
there
established?
a few times.
The answer
It's
is
pretty brutal.
I
What's
don't
up, guys?
Hi,
Hello.
welcome back, and it's hi to everyone that joined us that wasn't here.
For New Game Plus, the record is
The way out of
47:57.
this. It's alright. I can tell.
I'm not sure what the next best time is. I think it is 49
Unless you wanna
something.
just stay here.
Oh, I don't know if Lee said it, but I'm officially dumb because I didn't remember the marathon was.
It's on our shoulders. We can't just let it go.
So this is the battering ram.
Bastion
It makes it
does
so you can no longer roll or even use that hopscotch thing. You just have to walk.
and we couldn't repair it.
And you don't get to
And,
use the weapons you were using before anymore.
First, we'd round up as many folks as we could carry. Next, we'd detonate the cores. And we'd
Yes,
take
that is
off
me, boss Cav.
away from here.
They're saying, someone's asking, is there no way to roll past those barricades?
There is not. I've tried really hard. You cannot get past them. There's so many of them, and there's even invisible walls too.
You know Zolf and his
You have to get this ram.
giving up that shard without a fight, don't you?
Scumbag battering ram. Just making you waste time.
Up next is Drunk Family Feud featuring
Zolf and the Earl.
myself
All they want
and
now is to see the Bastion.
I'm the
Zach.
host of the evening of Family
Zach
Feud.
SK. Holy.
Don't shortcut me. It's my idea, damn it.
It is Zach is hosting the Family Feud, and he has gracefully invited the inebriated version of myself to play.
Zolf ain't lost
Can I
like a
join?
shot.
Can I help join with the hosting, but not actually play the game?
He tried
You
to
could.
warn you.
Alright, what you could do is you could not tell us what the people in chat are saying for the answers, but you're welcome to.
Oh man,
Maybe
well, I'm
there's-
sure the chat will have
I'll
the
be sure
greatest
to-
answers and not be trolling you at all.
No,
I'm not going to look at
usually-
it regardless.
I'm not gonna look at it either. You gotta
This
play
ain't
this
a
game
personal
straight.
So if I start laughing uncontrollably, you know that they're trolling.
I guess.
It ain't a simple matter of pride.
And there's this boss here which you don't actually have to kill. He'll just leave you alone eventually.
Kid followed Zolf all the way home.
At least he usually does. There
There
we
is
go.
no Louis Anderson. It is only us.
And I'm going to leave
Bastion
Zolf to
going?
die because it's
Kids
30
say Zolf
seconds
won,
faster.
But I don't think he made the same mistake. I wouldn't.
Wow, it's very rare to hear that dying saves time.
Don't you worry though. Once the Bastion's restored, it'll all be alright.
That's not too rare, actually.
Although, after talking
Or at least in my
over this,
opinion, I think it is. I guess I just don't watch enough streams.
But since I'm using the restoration ending, because that's the only ending I'll have, he'll be alright. Normally at the end, you choose between restoring the world or evacuating with the Bastion, but I do not get to evacuate with the Bastion because I don't have the Highbound Journal.
So is there, between those two endings, is there like a quote-unquote bad ending?
It would probably be the restoration ending. It's heavily implied that if you choose the restoration ending, all of this is just going to happen again. Because it's going to restore the world to what it was before the calamity happened, but the calamity is just going to happen again.
Kid's probably dealt with Zolf by now. He reminds me of myself when I was his age. I ever tell you about those days?
The true end is probably evacuation because it'll escape that loop. But if you choose restoration, it makes New Game Plus starts making more sense. Because there's actually a reason for everything to start over again.
Get up, kid.
By the way, spoiler alert.
Come on, that ain't funny. I say get up.
And something silly you can do here at the very end of the game is actually you can go to these optional levels, the who knows where. If you go there now, you'll have hopscotch and the ram and be able to jump with the ram. Which could be abusable for like high scores on the leaderboards and stuff, but the ram is worse than the other weapons. So it wouldn't really help.
Welcome to the heart of the Bastion.
And also the leaderboards are
I ain't
completely
one for long
hacked
goodbyes.
anyway.
So here's the deal. Zia and I figure you done the heavy lifting, so you get to do the honors. We can tell you how to work this thing if you got any questions.
Oh, whoops.
Soph tried to talk me into joining him.
I wasn't thinking I accidentally talked to Zia more than I had to. It doesn't matter much because I lost a ton of time on silly things like the screen turning black. And I'm done.
Yeah, so
Well done.
speaking of that,
It's
turning
finished.
black, the black screen, how consistent is that? Or is it just random?
It always happens if you die right as you're exiting a level,
You done good.
which you can control for the most part, but sometimes enemies don't do exactly what you expect them to do, but they'll always do the same thing dependent on your positioning. So it's not RNG, but it can be
Bastion's
sort of
gonna take us
random
back to a better time
in effect.
before any of this.
So that's Bastion New Game Plus.
Get everything done.
Congrats.
And each other. Though after
So
all,
up next
congrats
is
on the
Drunk
run.
Family Feud, right?
Well, one person is drunk. The first person is drunk.
Gonna give a
I
shark out to
fucking-
all the sharkies, and then get out of here.
Oh, I can't even English.
Have fun with your Family Feuds.
When's Marvel?
Yeah, when's Marvel?
I'm so
When's
excited
Marvel?
for Family Feud being.
So I'm gonna bail out of the mumble. I have a class to get to soon, actually.
Alright, well, thanks you for.
Yes, thank you for the run.
Thank you for having me. Good luck with your Family Feud later.